welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about vintage accessorizing. Now of course when you have your lovely vintage dresses or skirts or trousers or just your general vintage style, then accessories can really pull an outfit together. This is especially true if you are someone who likes to wear reproduction like I do, or if you like to take more modern clothes and try and make them look vintage. In that case, the accessories can really take a more vintagey inspired, vaguely vintage look and turn it into more of a real vintage looking look. That was a sentence. I'm sure that made sense. So obviously my style is a little bit more, I would say, over the top. It's very obviously vintage, it's very noticeable, so if you are not into that, then that is totally okay, but I think these tips will still work no matter what kind of vintage style you are into, whether you're into something a little bit more fluffy like me or whether you are into something a lot more simple and low-key. I will leave a link to a video that is all about really simple vintage looks that I think would be really helpful, but let's just get straight into things. So starting off with what is quite a big vintage accessory for me but might not be depending on your comfort level or your style, and that is petticoats! Now for me, I am the kind of person that will wear petticoats for like everyday life. I absolutely love them. I mostly wear my Doris Designs petticoats. I have them in 3 colours. I have ivory, which is the one I'm wearing right now. I have blush red and I have bubblegum pink. And they are so soft and flouncy and beautiful. I would 100% recommend them. I do have a brand review on my Doris Designs petticoats. But yes, petticoats can definitely take more of a modern looking, say, circle skirt or dress and turn it into something that looks really authentic and 1950s. And they're also really great for events. So I absolutely love them. I think they really add to the vintage shape and they just look beautiful. Something really useful for getting that 1950s or 1940s look is a wide elasticated belt. I have so many of these. This one is from Hell Bunny, but most of mine are actually from Band Apparel. I have this plain looking one here. I have this in like 5 or 6 colours I think, and it just has metal clasps at the front. I like for these to be quite tight to really cinch in the dress or skirt that I am wearing. This can be really great for putting a top and skirt combo together. I've worn belts with tops and skirts where people think it's a dress before, or to stick onto a lovely dress or a jumpsuit or something like that to just add a little bit of flair, maybe to pull into your accessories, so for example your shoes. So I'm wearing this beautiful poppy dress today from Hearts and Roses with this lovely coral belt I got from Lady B Loves recently, and to match the coral belt I'm wearing these gorgeous coral sandals. I did this recently with a look I wore out for one of my friend's birthdays. I will stick it here. It was so cute. I love this outfit. I'm definitely going to be wearing it a bunch, but having your belt and your shoes match is very vintage. It's a very vintage thing to have your belt and your shoes, or your bag and your shoes. That's kind of the tradition of ensemble dressing, and I have so many belts that actually really match my shoes, especially when it comes to these bow ones. I have them in 4 colours, and I will actually show you that I have shoes that go pretty much perfectly with all of the belts. especially helpful if you are someone who prefers to wear more neutral or sort of monochrome outfits, but you want a pop of colour. Having your belt and your shoes be matching is really a great idea, and it can just pull an outfit together like you would not believe. Hair accessories are a great way to spice up an outfit. I have such a wide collection of hair flowers in different colours and sizes, and they're really great for, again, spicing up a very casual outfit. So if you're just wearing a simple skirt and a top with no petticoat, or trousers and top with nothing really too frilly or fancy, and then you just stick a little hair flower in the side of your head, it can be really an elevation to your look. I love hair flowers. I think they are a staple in my wardrobe. They're quite pin-uppy and pretty. They can look very true vintage, so they're not too out there, depending on obviously the style and the colours that you get. They can also really be useful for evening out a hairstyle that's perhaps a little bit more asymmetrical, which is something I use them for all the time. Hats, similarly, can be such a big help. I'm a massive fan of my beautiful vintage hats that I've shown a couple of times on this channel. I will leave a link to a haul up in the card. But I love a good hat. I think that hats are kind of a lost art now, especially during the summer. Pretty sun hats. During the winter, a good hat can really help if it's rainy or windy and you want to look cute and vintage, but you know, your hair's just going to get messed up the second you walk outside. You can throw a vintage hat on and it instantly makes your outfit look 1,000 times more authentic. People love hats. I have gotten so many compliments on the hats that I wear. I just think they're so helpful. They can also cover up if you have bad roots, or if you haven't been able to wash your hair that day and you really probably should have. The answer to the truly fancy vintage person's wardrobe is gloves. Gloves really elevate any look. I love wearing gloves, especially to vintage events, or when it is just a little bit chillier, or when I'm just feeling quite fancy and I really fancy that slightly over the top, are you going to a tea party, are you going to the Royal Ascot kind of look. There are so many different kinds of vintage gloves you can get. You can get softer fabric ones like this, which has a lot of lace. You can get longer satin ones like these. You can get sort of wrist length ones, bracelet length, elbow length, opera length. There are so many options, and you can of course get them in all different colours to coordinate or contrast with your outfit. Most of my gloves are either white or cream. I have one pair of pink and one pair of black, just because I find that goes with the most of my outfits. And I really do adore them, and I think especially if maybe you have been struggling with all of the hand sanitizing we have to do recently, it can be really great if you just throw a load of hand cream on and then put your hand in gloves. It can help soften your hands up and make them feel a lot nicer, and it's great when it's rainy because I find that rain just makes me so itchy, so having nice gloves on my hands prevents them from getting wet. They do even do gloves now that have little touchscreen finger pads on, so you don't have to sacrifice the modern lifestyle for a vintage aesthetic. You can have the best of both. Your hair can actually do wonders when it comes to being almost a vintage accessory in itself. So today I just have a set in, I tried out a new setting pattern and it is quite pretty. I do quite like it. And having vintage looking hair, whether that's a vintage hairstyle like bumper bangs or a Gibson roll or Victory rolls or a barrel roll or so many different kinds, I will leave a link to a video all about the simple vintage hair dictionary of all of the kinds of hairstyles that I think all beginners of vintage should know. But your hair, even just being curly and maybe having one side pinned back, can really pull together an outfit. I feel 1,000 times better when I have my hair curled versus when I just have to leave it straight. I really do not straighten my hair or leave it straight very often because I just don't feel like me, and I find that I can do so much more with it and that it just suits, you know, my aesthetic a lot more to have it really pretty and curly rather than just straight. So having a beautiful vintage hairstyle, even on top of a very simple outfit, not even going into your fancier vintage events, can be a real game changer, and your hair can just be a centerpiece in itself. Especially when you pair it with a vintage half hat or a hair flower or a pretty vintage clip, one of the hair accessories that we talked about earlier. When it comes to the sun, you need to be taking care of your eyes, so a good pair of vintage sunglasses is vital. I have more of a true vintage pair which are in my car, but I also have this really fun pair that I really love. This is very my style, so I forgive you if you don't all dig it as much as I do, but it's this gorgeous pair of heart-shaped sunglasses, and this is just so vintage and like over the top in a really fabulous way. I just absolutely love it. Can't beat a good pair of vintage sunglasses, and the great thing about these is that they are really, really easy to pick up at places like vintage fairs, antique shops, vintage shops, online, on places like eBay or anything like that. They're really, really easy to pick up for quite cheap. Stockings can be a really, really great accessory to pull together an outfit, whether they are coloured like my beautiful Secrets in Lace pink stockings. If you haven't checked out my blog article all about my Secrets in Lace purchases, then I will leave that in a link in the description. But for every day, nothing, in my opinion, can beat the gorgeous What Katie Did stockings. So they have such a wide variety of coloured seamed stockings, which are just nude. They have different skin tone colours, so nude can really be a colour that suits you, and then they have a coloured welt toe and a beautiful coloured seam all the way down the back. Everyone really loves it when I wear these, when I wear them into work, when it's kind of winter. If I go up the stairs ahead of people, they're like, oh, I really love your coloured tights. And it's just such a fun little, really authentic accessory that adds a little bit of extra flavour to your outfits. It can also be really helpful if you need to keep your legs covered. For example, if you have any scars or something like eczema where you want them to be not really exposed to too much of the air, then a pair of seam stockings in a really nice colour that either coordinates or contrasts with your outfit is a really, really lovely way to do that. Just to clarify there, I did not mean that if you have any scars on your legs that you have to cover them. My legs are covered in scars from eczema. I just meant if you do not personally want them to be showing for any particular reason, then seam stockings are the way to go. Just really wanted to clarify that because I played that back in my head. I was like, oh god, that doesn't sound good. Yeah, that's what I meant. I'm impressed that I've gotten through this much of a video without talking about shoes. I love shoes. I have too many shoes. This is an issue. It's a problem. I just really love them. And as you saw, I like to have shoes that kind of coordinate with my whole outfit. In general, a pair of cute vintage shoes, whether they are flats or heels, there's absolutely no pressure to wear high-heeled shoes if you don't want to. Flats can look just as vintage and just as adorable and just as authentic. But I tend to wear heels just because I really, really like them. So I have a wide variety of sort of kitten heels, larger heels, and then sort of fancier heels like these ones in more daytime and occasion styles. I have less of a distinction for me personally between occasion shoes and day shoes. For example, most people will probably wear these to an event, but I'm just going to wear them to go to the dentist later. I have a few exceptions of things that I would generally save for something a little bit fancier, or that I would really only take photos in on a daily basis and then probably would change into one of my other more everyday pairs just to preserve them. But shoes can be a really, really great way to spice up your vintage style. There are so many really, really funky and incredible shoes, for example from places like Irregular Choice, but even Band Apparel and Betty Page shoes and Collective have lots of really gorgeous shoes. Jo Browns do incredible shoes, and they are really vintage inspired, really elegant, really comfortable. I just got a pair of occasion shoes from them, and they are princess shoes. Look, they're sparkly. I cannot, they're so pretty, and I'm planning on wearing these for performing or any other projects that I have coming up. Your shoes should obviously be very well cared for. I will leave a link to a video about maintaining your lovely items, but just basically make sure that you clean and take care of your shoes when you're wearing them. The final thing I'm going to talk about for your vintage accessories is obviously jewellery. Now, jewellery I find is something that really varies from person to person. Some people like wearing quite a lot of jewellery and some people don't. I have lots of lovely necklaces and things. Day to day I tend to go a bit subtler on the jewellery. I'll generally wear a pair of earrings every day. So for example, today I'm wearing this pair of bow earrings to match the bow on my belt. I'm usually wearing my pearls, and one of my lovely sparkly bracelets maybe, but I don't tend to go very over the top. But I know there are lots of really amazing vintage jewellery brands like Erstwilder who create authentic looking, more pin-up vintage jewellery pieces. So have a look around and see what really vibes with you. You might be someone who's into more of an antiqued look, really worn in. You might be someone who likes things to look brand spanking new, coordinate with your outfit, or just be really dainty and not really be a feature piece in themselves. I love brooches. I have a video about my vintage brooch collection on the way, and I think they're a really great way to add just that extra special touch to an outfit, especially if it is true vintage, the brooch. So I would definitely recommend those for your vintage accessorizing because they can change up an outfit in seconds. And that is all from me today. I really hope you enjoyed this little crash course on some of the ways that you can accessorize your vintage look. Please do let me know if this was helpful or entertaining in any way, and if you have any suggestions for content you would like to see from me, then do drop it in the comments down below. I am going to be working on a vintage lingerie video because I have had a couple of requests for that, of the different kinds of vintage lingerie and the different silhouettes, so that will be coming soon, I promise. And I love you all so very much. Please do remember to have courage and be kind, and may all your dreams come true, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
Fall in love and kiss me. What if they do? I think of you, awaiting here and sighing. I'll drop my gun and start to run, then hurry home not flying.